Hey guys, Earphoneus Fanaticus here. Today I have an unboxing and first look of the Massdrop Plus, a pair of universal hybrid IEM designed in-house by, of course, Massdrop. I bought mine together with a 2.5mm balance cable on the 10th of March and arrived on the 25th in Hong Kong, which is around 2 weeks of shipping time. Not too bad, I guess, considering I did go with the cheapest shipping option. Now, the first thing I noticed right off the bat is that the box feels a bit empty and very lightweight, so I already knew I shouldn't expect fancy packaging. When I did get the box open, I was immediately greeted with the balance cable I ordered along with the earphone. So let's check it out first. This cable uses 2-pin connector. People generally prefer 2-pin to the more common MMCX connector because of its supposedly higher durability and smaller wear and tear during each time of cable installation. It also doesn't rotate 360 degrees like the MMCX. These are all pros for some people, but I don't mind MMCX or the rotation because I'm just so used to them. I would say, however, that I would have loved to see metal wired insertion in the ear guide rather than just being heat molded. The cable terminates with a straight angle 2.5mm jack for balance connection with the most popular DAPs in the market. Like I've said before, I still prefer right angle jacks, but I can appreciate the fact that making such a thin connector in that configuration would probably be really difficult, because otherwise everyone would have been doing it already. Overall build quality is alright. The sleeving isn't particularly exquisite or soft, and the metallic looking bits feel like, if not most certainly, plasticky. It's just it will get the job done kind of cable, and at the price of $30 that's exactly what you should expect. After looking at the cable, I proceeded to take out the box for the earphone. It's a really tiny box compared to what I'm used to seeing from IEM brands out there, and you can really get a feel of how small it really is compared to my average size Asian hand. There's nothing else to check out in the package, just some airbags and some boring documentations that I won't bother showing. So once again, here's the box. It reads Massdrop Plus Universal IEMs on the front, nothing on the sides, and at the back, there's a paragraph of generic IEM description with common jargons like extended bass and clarity, but it does mention the use of Sonian drivers. Sonian is a well-known manufacturer for balanced armature drivers after Nose. I don't know if I actually have any earphone that uses Sonian drivers, so this will be interesting to look into. It also says the Plus is supposed to be full and fun, so I am expecting rich lower mids, good bass response and an overall rock EQ kind of sound, but you'll just have to wait and see what it really is whenever my detailed review does come out. The box is a bit flimsy, unlike the typical IEM packaging once again. This was probably done to save cost, and to be honest, what would you do with those fancy boxes after getting the earphone out anyway? The first thing I pulled out was a hard carrying case with what looks to be 2 layers of foam encapsulated by a cheap looking plastic, and it reads Massdrop on top. Besides this, there's also a piece of documentation with some guidelines on how to not destroy your ears, as well as a guide on how to set up and wear the earphone. Now, of course, this is a bit silly to someone like me who have used IEMs for so long, but it is clear that the target audience of this is not me, but rather general consumers who have never used anything other than the typical earbuds that come with smartphones and such. I'm sure those watching this would have encountered situations where you lend your IEM to your friends or colleagues, but then they get confused and either swap to the left and right side, or they hold the earpieces with their hands rather than actually wearing them. So I'm okay with this seemingly useless paper. Coming back to the carrying case, it appears to be where the earphone and accessories are stored in. Now, while I do think it looks quite cheap, it at least does feel very sturdy and will surely be able to take some beating. I also suspect it is water resistant, but I haven't tested that out yet. Inside the case, there are 2 sets of silicone tips and a set of memory tips, all in small, medium and large. On close inspection, it appears one of the sets of silicone tips is actually double flanged, and from the shape of the upper flange, I do expect it to seal better than most double flange tips. I'm looking at you, Spinfit. I also gave the memory foam a good squeeze. It's supple, but also sticky for some reason. Taking them out for the photo I showed you just now was honestly a bit of a chore. I also want to point out that the tips don't seem to fit the earphone too well. The tube is a bit too narrow for the earphone sound tube, so you need to abuse it a bit and just force it onto the earphone. There's also a cleaning tool included, metal loop on one side and brush on the other. Overall, I would say you do get pretty much the complete set of accessories expected from typical IEM manufacturers. The only thing that's missing is an airline converter. Here's a close-up view of the earphone, made in the US. The dark blue 3D printed housing is made of acrylic, and the shape is similar to those demo earphones for custom IEMs, meaning it fits 90% like a pair of customs, except it actually fits a much wider population rather than just a single person. It is, however, quite a bit smaller than actual demo earphones. The words Massdrop Plus and serial number are both etched onto the two earpieces. There's a rectangular slot where the 2-pin connector on the cable goes. Because I did buy the balance cable, I decided to swap it in for auditioning with my DP-X1A. The installation is very simple, just align the connector with the slot and give it a good push. But be careful of not bending any pins. The angle is very specific too, so you might not be able to install the cable on your first go. There are two bores on the sound tube, but the bigger one sports a crescent shape rather than the usual circular shape. When we shine a bright light, we can see how the bores are used. Essentially, the pinhole is connected to the two bass drivers sitting at the bottom, while the crescent hole is used by the singular mid-high driver. Judging from the bore size alone, I think this is done to amplify the contrast between bass and treble, but of course how the drivers are tuned will have an effect on how the earphone actually sounds. The Massdrop page states the earphone is able to generate frequencies ranging from 5Hz to 18 kHz, and the drivers are arranged in two-way crossover. Anyway, this will conclude my unboxing of the Massdrop Plus IEM. As usual, I'll be making a detailed review for this earphone, and I will tell you exactly how it sounds in terms of sound signature, soundstage, imaging, as well as ear tip compatibility and how it stacks up against earphones of similar price range. So if you're interested in any of these, please subscribe and hopefully I'll see you in the future. Thanks for watching and happy listening.